Hey there, J-Shot. What you doing?
Oh, you know, just getting ready for my next video with some excellent supplements from Xyience. They're truly the best on the market.
Well, I just want to thank you for giving us All Access, brought to you by Xyience.
It's my pleasure, just like the pleasure I get from drinking supplements from Xyience.
And who's this you got here?
Oh, this is my little supplement. Her name's Xyience.
Well, we can't wait to get a closer look at your life. This is a history of caged violence, All Access with the J-Shot, brought to you by Xyience.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're about to see something that you have never seen before. The ultimate fighting challenge. This ring is something else.
In a battle where anything can happen, anything can happen, anything can happen, and probably will.
Welcome back. It is I, the J-Shot, and viewers of this channel know that the early days of MMA were a special, special time. The characters, the unpredictability, the mixing of styles, the goofy as hell shenanigans, they all make it so much fun. You could probably dedicate an entire YouTube channel to it. But it's hardly the only era of the sport worth shining a light on. Any MMA fan worth their weight in tap-out apparel knows that in the early 2000s, the UFC was pushing for mainstream credibility, and they were pushing really hard. That marketing campaign brought us The Ultimate Fighter, putting what had just a few years prior been called human cockfighting on the TVs of millions of frat houses and breathing life into the sport while it frantically grasped for a ventilator. So what do you do when the first season of your reality show is a huge hit? Do another one, of course. And another, and so on. But what else do you do to capitalize on that success? Enter UFC All Access. Hosted by ring card girl Rochelle Leah and presented to you mostly by Xyience, UFC All Access debuted at the start of 2006, profiling a different fighter over each of its 14 episodes. If you watched it back in the day, you probably remember it for how well it helped fight fans get to know the UFC's top dogs outside the octagon, showing their training, downtime, family, and personalities. But perhaps you forgot about the rest of it, most of which has aged like cottage cheese on a space heater. So whip up your famous protein shake, climb into your favorite tractor, and kick back in a nice ice bath as we take a closer look at UFC All Access. The series got off to a decent start, as then middleweight champ Rich Ace Franklin, fresh from starching Nate Rock Quarry like your fancy uncle's shirt collar, kicked things off in episode 1. That decent start refers to the episode as a whole and not the actual start, which could have used another try.
Good morning.
Early.
I know. I'm sorry. It's worth it. It's so cold out here.
Is it?
We did 20 ticks, and that was the best one.
Rich and Rochelle head to his basement gym where he runs, and then runs, and then runs some more. He explains he keeps track of his heart rate, which back then was some groundbreaking game-changer training. And then back upstairs they go for one of his famous shakes.
So you put pure fat into your shake?
It's good fat. It's omega fat. Yeah.
Are you putting fat into my shake?
Clearly before the keto craze.
This is unbelievable.
Rochelle really sells how delicious this shake with about 4 ingredients in it is, and Rich gets candid and tells a whopper about his favorite cheat meal.
One night we stopped at one convenience store and they were all out of donuts. We stopped at like 8 stores and finally came back to the store that we started at, and the delivery guy had come.
What a story, Mark.
From there though, Ace really gets to work. He seemingly uses every station in the whole gym, running from one to the next, all while a Vietnam War vet barks orders at him. From there, it's off to Muay Thai practice for more torture, meet up with his chiropractor who looks like the Kingpin, and then a quick stop to pick up his custom Ultimate Fighter Hummer, which makes him the true ace of base.
You can never have too much.
Wow.
We're gonna probably end up putting...
That's how we roll.
Segments like these always feel a bit like filler, but never is that more apparent than when the garage door gets stuck and the whole ordeal isn't even edited out. Franklin is a charismatic, all-around good guy who really seems like the kind of down-to-earth dude you'd want to have a beer or a gallon of water with.
What is Rochelle? I gotta go.
And then there's Andre Arlovski. Now, granted, English isn't his mother tongue, and he definitely has a better grasp of the language than I do of his, but some coaching on his line delivery wouldn't have hurt.
Good round, but too bad Rochelle missed it. Huh?
Too bad Rochelle missed it, huh?
Rochelle missed it.
Rochelle missed it, huh?
Rochelle missed it.
Better. In this episode, they add in this silly Rochelle is late storyline. It's largely unnecessary unless they're trying to fill time, which I guess they are. But it's also, well, creepy.
Guys, this is UFC All Access on Arlovski, not on me.
How embarrassing that no one told the producers. Some, but not all episodes have this pervy exploitation of Rochelle going on. In a couple of cases, sure, I guess it makes some sense, like wearing a bikini on a beach. But this episode is a different level. Such was the mentality back then, I guess. Lure them in with a gorgeous half-naked woman, and they'll stay for fighter bios and ham-fisted supplement promotion.
You know how I know that you're gay?
How?
Because you watch UFC All Access to see the fighters train?
It's the breakfast of a champion, but I better get it to him before he beats me up.
Don't believe him? Check out his shirt. Although it's possible he doesn't know what it says, as he's brought steak and eggs while discussing his diet of chicken and fish. The Pitbull then shows off his fast hands and precision technique in the boxing gym. Rochelle follows suit, and then he goes to buy one. Why not? He has a charity event later, apparently. But custom-made clothes just ain't enough. So he goes to check out the progress on his new and oh so unnecessary medallion he's buying for God knows how much. But hey, he's the champ, so he's got to look good. Or so I'm told.
You know, when I walk out here, you are looking at what we have come to know as championship material. I'm the world champion. You know what I got to back it up? I got this. $40,000. It's mine. Got my name on it. Send a limousine to the castle because I'm a big man. Nobody says it better than the world heavyweight champion.
Rochelle takes off while we head to the doctor and the dentist. Nice fangs. The legend Stephan Bonner shows up to spar, and then we meet Team Pitbull. This round table of Russian guys who likely skim off the top whatever Andre doesn't spend on jewelry and mouth guards. He then kidnaps Rochelle as the show ends, and the viewer considers whether or not to call the cops.
His name is Tito Ortiz.
Speaking of people who've had the cops called on them, next up is former light heavyweight champ Tito Ortiz, as he prepares to take on the former super fight champ, our old pal Ken Wayne Shamrock. He slinks out of bed at the crack of 1 p.m., and we dive right into what feels like a Xyience commercial written by an inebriated toddler.
I need to get some type of meal in me. If I don't eat a big meal, I end up won't come stay down in my stomach.
The editors truly had their work cut out for them on this episode.
That's really good. Tastes like strawberry milk.
Ortiz and his pals do their camp way up in the mountains at Big Bear. The high altitude helps their cardio, which might explain why their training segment is probably the most weak-ass of the whole series. Although I can't say I want anything to do with their nonsensical ab routine.
Usually we do 100 per person, and how many people there is training with us, that's how many sets we'll do.
Hundreds of sit-ups are just part of the deal, and hundreds of push-ups can be too if the guys aren't careful.
One of my training partners actually brought up Guitar Heroes. Whoever wins, you owe us push-ups.
He means whoever loses, but give him a break. That's barely even a flub for him, as even way back then, he still had a tough time with trash talk.
Ken Shamrock, sorry to be you.
Rochelle remains outside the gym, queuing up another workout where we see Tito lift weights for all of 10 seconds, and then it's off to the water so viewers can see her wakeboard, as Tito declines for safety reasons. Just what we tuned in to see.
Some people stand in the darkness, afraid to step into the light.
Off to sunny Rio de Janeiro we go, to get all access to the man some call Seraldo Babalu. A natural progression following episodes about the middleweight, heavyweight, and former light heavyweight champs, obviously. Right away, we get a look at his intense training in the gym, including some clean and jerk form that even CrossFitters would cringe at. There's also a lot of dead air, and the throws to commercial are even more obviously fake than usual.
Babalu just had a great workout. We're going to take a break right now.
Where is everybody?
But for the most part, it's a decent episode that teaches you all about a fighter who most at the time, and many right now, don't know much about. They jog and joke.
During the 10 minutes, we try to talk with each other, make fun of each other.
They don't skip heart day.
Do sprints to get my heart bigger.
And never let a workout interfere with feeding those in need.
I take a little time to spend it to give the food to the monkeys.
Speaking of proper nutrition, it's time for another Xyience commercial. Brought to you by Xyience. Babalu says he starts every day with a shake, and post-workouts, he enjoys a nice cool glass of recovery drink.
I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
But most importantly, no carbs after 8. He seems like a pretty cool guy, and Rochelle ain't hating being on assignment in Brazil, but their chemistry isn't exactly lighting the screen on fire.
Hey, Babalu, what are you doing with me here?
So we're gonna put you on the sand, and after that, we're gonna teach you to how to stand.
I don't know how you ever work out with an ocean here because I would be stuck in there all day long if I could.
But it's okay.
Let's go get some food and talk about your nutrition.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Great.
Oh, and he says he got his nickname from always chewing gum, which is a pretty bad reason to get a nickname, but hey, who am I to judge?
Here.
That's pretty cool.
Well, that's a little thing I would call a J-shot, Charlie.
Time to cosplay as a cowgirl and hang with Matt Hughes on the farm. He's legit, she is not, injuring herself off screen, which then needs to be mentioned for some reason, perhaps so the producers have some leverage over the Hughes family, who are so wholesome, there's a good chance they won't want to be associated with this show after watching the first few episodes. No backing out now, Matt.
Or I'll sue your ass.
Although truthfully, it becomes pretty obvious no one's too concerned about Rochelle's safety when they not only allow, but encourage her to take his quad for a rip off a sweet jump, sans helmet. The farm life never ends for Matt, but in this episode it does at least. He pops in his Bluetooth earpiece and hauls ass to Bettendorf, Iowa, where he does the usual, trains and promotes Xyience products like they're going out of style, which they would just a handful of years later. But even though he's endorsing them, you can tell the farm boy just doesn't feel right about it.
Typically, I would like to have 2 or 3 scrambled eggs. This morning, all I had was a shake. The shakes they've got on the market today are just great. I mean, taste-wise.
Wow, really convincing stuff. Rochelle has completely disappeared from the episode at this point, probably off to the hospital. But no matter. We get a Tim the Maniac Sylvia sighting or two, which there can never be enough of, and witness Matt eat, lift, spar, grapple, and of course, sell some more shakes.
Well, I think I'm gonna go take a nap. See you guys later.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
Most MMA fans think GSP was talking about the fight, but it's actually Hughes' half-assed hawking of Xyience that drew his ire. But seriously, when this aired, he'd already taken the title from Hughes and was getting ready to lose it to Matt Serra somehow. This episode gets right into the training. No phony knock on the door or nothing. Just hard work and giant info boxes that take up a huge part of the screen and often do little more than tell you what an hour and a half 3 times adds up to, outs guys who still live in their parents' houses, or lists the things a fighter does other than fight, like going to the movies and dancing. Yep, GSP, big on movies and busting a move.
He trains each discipline separately. So for example, he's here wrestling, only wrestling.
Unlike all those other fighters that lift weights and run laps while practicing their submission defense during a heated sparring session, so ahead of his time.
I have to stick with the same old people who were there in the beginning.
Hey, it worked for Ronda. Uh-oh, I cringe just thinking about a Rampage episode. Run, Rochelle, run!
You move your hands. Oh. There you go. Right here.
Fortunately, that's as close to inappropriate as it gets. No offside comments, and most importantly, nobody gets humped. It's more just, well, funny.
Nutrition is kind of important to me because other people say so.
Are you ready for this butt whooping you finna get?
We eat together, play video games. We don't sleep together though.
For some reason, Rampage references bad breath so much, he should probably talk to a professional about having halitophobia. It's real. I looked it up.
chef bad breath, and he won't talk about my breath. I have to hold my breath when I get close to him to hit the pads. Do you brush your teeth with toothpaste? Yes. Or do you use just water?
All in all, a good episode, mainly due to Quinton never taking himself too seriously, and being the funniest fighter ever who's not named Chael P. Sonnen. But seeing his son, who's all grown up now with a few fights under his belt, shows just how long ago and relatively early in the sport's history this was, back when fighters earned very little and were all struggling just to get by.
It's 4,600 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths.
Yeah, we got the surround sound. We got the 63-inch plasma. We got a couple different kind of game rooms.
I got the bar game up on the bar.
I got iPod stands for here, and there's one for here and one for outside.
Or not. Rochelle brings her four-legged friend along for this episode, claiming it's going to hang with Chuck's, but I'm thinking it's really so that it can translate for her, as the Iceman straight up sounds more like a dog playing tug of war with a bone than a human speaking actual sentences.
Got the first one, we're not, probably where we hang out the most.
Referee, I guess. They bully him around a little bit.
He's shown training and teaches us proper nutrition, like drinking hot sauce straight from the bottle. It's just like every other episode, except there's a heaping serving of flexing going on. Sure, he was at the top of the mountain at this point, but the whole thing gives you big-time Rocky III vibes. Seriously, I was half expecting a robot butler to roll in.
What is this?
As far as I know, Liddell never went broke, which, judging by how he was spending cash, is even more impressive than his string of light heavyweight title defenses. The house, the TVs, the gadgets, the pool. Not to mention...
What kind of Ferrari is this?
The cars. Like this slick Ferrari that Chuck shows off while wearing one outfit and then takes Rochelle for a rip in while wearing something completely different. Anyone for a little more scripted bullshit?
I haven't eaten, so I want to go for a ride in this thing.
Well, let's go down to LA and eat.
LA's like 3 hours from here?
Not in this car, is it?
Am I driving it?
No.
No, all right. All right, fine.
And we see where they spent their budget. No, they didn't pay to use the video of Chuck on Punk'd, but they sure shelled out for helicopter shots of their joyride. Who's the accountant for this show? Chuck himself?
You know, hopefully I'll be able to retire pretty well off.
I can't imagine why you wouldn't.
No glitz, no glamour. This is pure hardcore training.
Finally, Sean Sherk is here to save us, and what a contrast the Muscle Sharks episode is from the Iceman's. Seriously, it spends about 12 seconds on his family before he hands off his kid and heads to the gym. But first, we get the details on his athletic supports.
These are all my supplements I take.
Yeah, right. Then it's off to work, and work he does. This guy may not be human. Flipping, climbing, slamming, crawling, pulling, over and over and over again. He's so high energy, his trainer's forced to strap a harness on him and try to slow him down, like a hyperactive kid at Toys R Us for the first time. It gets exhausting just watching him go back and forth, up and down, around and around, and wherever else his mini Hulk frame takes him.
That's a combination of strength, explosion, and conditioning.
A quick appearance on local radio where he literally explains to the DJ that what he does is an actual professional sport, and then it's back to the gym, where he estimates he spent 3/4 of his life, and I, for one, believe him. On his way home, he sees a set of stairs and decides to burn off the excess energy he still somehow has, and when he grows tired of that, he moves off the beaten path and forges a new one up the side of the hill.
I want to be recognized as somebody who really made an impact in this sport for my work ethic and for my accomplishments.
36 wins and only 4 losses. All the UFC champs. And the most bananas workout basically anyone's ever seen. So yeah, that's all well and good, sir. Now put this man in the Hall of Fame already. Back to Vegas we go to get a textbook Christian side hug from Randy Couture.
That Christian side hug, that Christian side hug.
We all know how awesome Randy is and all his accomplishments, so I won't rehash all of that. But I'd have to say, my favorite parts are when they talk about how beautiful the house is without showing the viewer what they're looking at.
Look at this place. So beautiful.
The trampoline workout.
But it requires 30% more energy to run on a trampoline than it does on a treadmill.
And of course, the many, many times he name drops his wife.
I
Kim and I got married in October. Kimmy's been working on this for about 4 months. My wife Kimmy's been working her magic. Kim's got the belt set up upstairs. Walk-in closets, which are a must, especially with Kim. Let's go check out the pool. I think Kim's back there too. So
oh, good.
Good to see Kimmy.
If after this long you're barely awake, you're in good company, because so is our next subject. Good thing he's one of the coolest guys in the history of this sport, and perhaps the most humble fighter of all time.
Gil Martinez is a world-renowned boxing coach. Why he's working with me, I have no idea.
They do the old jump on a tire while a guy punches you in the stomach routine.
My favorite part of training. I get to hit Forrest, he doesn't get to hit me back.
Some sparring where he's allowed to hit back, jiu-jitsu, more shots to the breadbasket, running, additional abuse, and then some strength and conditioning. He works hard as hell and has big plans for his post-gym time.
Got a couch, I got a cable. What I don't have is a TV.
Seems like a weird order of purchases, but okay. Of course, it wouldn't be an episode of All Access without some palling around. So Rochelle and Forrest do everything from indoor skydiving to shooting guns, kicking targets, and playing paintball, where he gets struck in the head from distance without returning the favor, just like in his fight against... The thing about the Spider is he's not one of the greatest of all time because of unmatched conditioning, an almost insane level of dedication, or even because he has the best training tools and coaches at his disposal, like many of the fighters we've already seen. He's just a freak, plain and simple. The whole episode, he sings, dances, busts out a sword, professes his love for Big Macs, feeds every relative he has, and plays some soccer. Yeah, they show him doing some training, but you kind of get the sense he barely even needs to do that much. And this is him in his prime, when he cleared out a division and moved up to light heavyweight a couple times to absolutely clown guys. It's no wonder people of all walks of life love the Spider.
You are my favorite fighter of all time.
And here I thought she was a Harold Howard girl.
Come on.
Contrast the Spider with the Beast. A different beast. Brock Lesnar, to be exact. You know, perhaps the biggest freak of nature the world's ever known.
It's snowing.
Yep, a storm's certainly a brewing. This is right before he set foot inside the octagon, and the MMA purists were coming out in full force against this monster. What a mockery of our sport he's making, they said. So it's possible Lesnar felt like he had something to prove when shooting this episode. It's your standard high-intensity fare made that much more impressive by the fact that he's like 280 pounds. At one point, throwing a whole heavy bag in the air and catching it like it's a sack of potatoes he doesn't plan on eating. But we know that's unlikely, as potatoes were one of the only things other than steak that he actually ate back then. And oh, the diverticulitis he would soon get. But I digress. They use a mop rather than just call in a Zamboni to clean up his sweat, and he mentions that the gloves they provided him don't fit, and therefore the UFC must outfit him with bigger ones.
And I have trouble getting my hands in them, so I asked for XXX.
The biggest surprise of the whole episode is certainly not that he lives an isolated life on a farm without the internet, or that he trains like an animal. It's
the Red Rocket.
Red Rocket, Monterey in California. Red Rocket.
Yep, apparently Brock was driving a car so small and so shitty that if it broke down in the middle of the road, all he'd have to do is stomp his feet through the floor, stick his arms out the windows, stand up, and walk the rest of the way like a strongman competitor or a Transformer knockoff from Wish.com.
We'll see you next time. Is that where the gun show is?
Wherever it is, hopefully it's downhill. Okay, last one. I forget. Who is it again?
This is the axe murderer Wanderlei Silva, and this is UFC All Access.
Come on in.
Right, and he's preparing for what they're calling the most anticipated fight in UFC history against Chuck Liddell, as both men look to get back in the win column after 2 straight losses. Rochelle tags along as he drops off his kid Thor. Yeah, Thor Silva. He's 4 years old and he's already a total badass with a name like that. And clearly, this is before GoPro dashcam video. And seatbelts too, apparently.
How did you train in Brazil differently from here in Las Vegas?
One word, Miss Leah. Snorkel. Sean Sherk has caveman training. Wanderlei Silva has Aquaman training.
The snorkel is a new way of training. 15 minutes with the snorkel is the same as training 2 hours without.
Math. No one would deny that this would make your cardio training harder. But like, does that really mean it's more effective? Like, chess is a hard game, and it's even harder to play while balancing a cake on your head. But I'm not sure that really makes you a better player in the long run. Maybe that's not a great example, but he's also not running barefoot, or wrestling in a tuxedo, or skipping rope with Rampage's chain, or doing proper clean and jerks. Okay, I'll stop. Besides, it's time for the axe murderer to submit a DNA sample mid-workout. Toss in some TRT while you're at it, guys. I mean, why not? The guy's wearing a friggin' snorkel. Give him a break. He then ditches the snorkel and jumps in the pool. And the ice bath, which was a novel concept at the time. And he doesn't put it or his headgear back on before tossing in a little sparring. Classic shoot-the-box.
When I get punched, my face gets stronger.
Then some jiu-jitsu training where he says he practices 3 new holds a week.
Hold 1, arm drag. Hold 2, arm bar. Hold 3, the moss-covered 3-handle family gradunzel.
No argument here that the man was training his ass off for that fight, which ended up being one of the best of its day, really living up to that legendary pre-fight trash talk.
I want to fight with Chuck.
So there you have it. All of UFC All Access. It's a decent concept wrapped in a low-grade supplement commercial and buried under a big pile of sexism. Rochelle did her best to make it an interesting and informative show, but she's probably still cringing looking back on it as some dirtbag Harvey Weinstein type clearly had other ideas. Putting her in skimpy clothes, going full voyeur at times, and feeding her lines that make her sound like she's going into heat. Lines which are delivered with all the subtlety you'd expect from a porn movie, just without the porn.
I love a man who does the dishes. I'm sure it's gonna look great on you.
I'm trying to get Anderson to teach me a flying knee.
I want his world famous shake. You cook. That's nice. I like that. You don't look bad. He has a really nice butt. You got a nice backyard. You like it raw.
These days, the higher production values, real sport treatment, and mainstream acceptance make UFC All Access look like a dinosaur. A dinosaur that's dressed head to toe in tap-out gear and horny as hell. But at the time, it was really the only way fans could get a glimpse into their favorite fighters' lives, as social media had yet to infiltrate and completely ruin society. So who else remembers UFC All Access, or Affliction Tees, or Xyience, or any of the other things that came along with the sport in the early 2000s? Let me know in the comments section below. I'm the J Shot, thanks for watching, and if you'll excuse me, I'm late for my workout. Big thanks to everyone who's been waiting so patiently for this video. Hopefully it was worth the wait. There was quite a bit more to this one than some of the other vids. Plus I got a dog and, well, let's face it, I'm quite lazy. But stay tuned for more content coming soon, hopefully in less than a year, probably in about a month, who knows. But if you subscribe, you will know. So hit that button also, and I'll see you next time.